Good day, everyone. So we are now on our next lesson, which is the types of the journey. So in this lesson, we're going to discover the different types of journey. Kasi ang journey, di ba, we have, before you proceed with this lecture, so I guess, and of course, you must be able to first finish the anatomy of journey. So that is the basically a lesson about dissecting a journey. In this lesson naman po, so after natin ma-dissect, no, so alam na natin different parts and components, what makes or what constitute and reconstitute a journey. Now, in this lesson, we're going to analyze these different types, yung pagkakaiba-iba nila. So, what's the purpose? Bakit kailangan natin siya malaman? Again, this particular knowledge is very important for you to be able to carry it out reservation and ticketing for your clients. So without further ado, let's go with the main topic outline. So for my discussions for today's lesson is these are types of journey. So first is why care? So why bother to study this? Next is what are the different types of journey? So again, we have identified five. So we have five different journeys. And out of these five, we commonly use the four. So ito po yung karamihan magagamit natin sa ating pang-araw-araw na buhay bilang travel agent. Kasi yung pang-lima, which is round the world fairs or round the world, is bibihira lang siya. Why? Kasi bibihira lang naman po yung ating kliyente na super yaman at super afford mag-travel at super maraming oras to be a globetrotter, no? So parang bibihira lang yan. So in that sense, bibihira rin natin siya magamit yung round the world fairs. Okay. So ang concentration natin mostly would be one way, round trip, circle trip, open jaw. So dapat alam natin siya. Okay? So now let's proceed. Bakit? Why bother? Why care? First is I have here a display or it's a sample screen display of a system called Sabre, also known as Abacus. For those mga oldies, no, Abacus ang tawag. Pero pag younger ka na, Sabre ang tawag natin siya. Or it's a GDS or Computerized Reservation System display na ginagamit ng mga travel agent, no, when they're booking tickets, when they are issuing ticketing, or when they're issuing your passenger reservations. Yan. So basically ito siya. So ito yung sistema, ito yung tools na ginagamit natin. So dito mapapansin mo, there is a selection of fares. No? So it's a coded. So sa mata ng kliyente, hindi niya alam yan. So syempre, dahil travel agent ako, alam ko na ibig sabihin niya. Dahil these are all codes. No? So for example, yung unang line sa taas na naka-highlight siya, yan po yung tinatawag natin command. So, sinutusan mo yung system na mag-display ng ganitong klaseng display. Now, of course, may mga commercial yan. Katulad yan, may commercial, at chuchu yan. Tapos, makikita kayo ng another sets of line na parang meron siyang mga naka-blue letters, no? So, these are the airlines that, of course, these are airlines that accept or probably has a published fare on that particular route, no? So, yun yung kanyang system. Now, anyway, so we're not here to discuss the system or the GDS. We're here to discuss yung types of fares or type of journeys, no? So, yun. So, besides sa type of fares na dapat nating alamin, dapat, syempre, bago mo na lahat, alam mo muna kung ano yung type of journey mo. So, in this case, paano malalaman kung one-way siya, round trip, no? Or circle trip? So, in this case, sa unang tingin ko pa lang is alam ko na round trip siya. Bakit? Kasi meron siyang indicator na R. So, ibig sabihin ng R, it's round trip. At meron siyang minimum and maximum days na, of course, pag nakita ko siya, okay, that's round trip. Kasi kung one-way siya, wala siyang minimum, maximum. Kasi all one-way tickets are one year valid siya. So, round trip lang po. May minimum saka maximum days. So, yun. So, alam ko na. So, sa pamamagitan ng system, dahil may konting knowledge tayo dun sa different types of journey, nalalaman ko na kung itong fare na to pang round trip, pang one way. So, ano ang importansya niya sa inyo bilang estudyante ng tourism? So, the first important aspect of this lesson is, of course, when you quote your prices, let's say you quote this particular price for your client, yung price mo and also the fare is determined by your journey, no? So, syempre, pag one way siya, that is one-way ticket price lang. Pero pag round trip siya, syempre mas mahal siya kasi 2 beses ka sasakay, 'di ba? So necessary ba pag one way siya, ita times 2 mo para to get the round trip? Not necessarily kasi round trip, you have to remember, round trip may discount portion siya. So ibig sabihin discount portion, mas maaring mas mura pa siya kaysa i-times 2 mo yung one way mo. Yun. So now, to know the exact price and what is to be quoted to your client, you need to have a basic understanding what constitute a round trip and one way. So yun siya, no? And also those mga circle trip, open jaw, so dapat alam natin siya. Next. Second, there are different documentary requirements for each types of journey. So totoo to. There are different documentary requirements that being asked at the airport when you are holding a one-way ticket, when you're holding a round-trip ticket. So kailangan mapakita mo siya. Especially true if you're holding a one-way ticket. So hindi ka pwedeng lumayas ng country na, or let's say, hindi ka pwedeng umalis ng Pilipinas na one-way document ka or one-way ticket yung dala-dala mo, wala kang supporting documents to verify why you have a one-way ticket lang, hindi siya round trip. Kasi sa immigration, pwede ka ma-hold, di ba? So dito kasi maraming, syempre, illegal work abroad or mga nabibiktima ng human trafficking. And normally, what they are, yung kanilang indicator kadalasan sa immigration is this person are buying one-way ticket. Kasi nga, mas mura one-way ticket kasi sa round trip. So, ibig sabihin, ito tao na to, dahil alam niya na magti-TNT siya, wala siyang intention bumalik. So, yung pala, sa ticket pala, makikita mo na yung intention. So, in that sense, yung one-way ticket natin without proper documentation sa immigration officers natin sa NAIA or any port in the Philippines would be a great alarm bell or indicator na siya that this person is a possible TNT or possible victim of a human traffic situation or syndicate, diba? So maaari siyang yun ang mag-indicator natin. Of course, that would have an impact to your quality of service. Let's say, ikaw yung nag-issue ng travel agency, maaari kang madamay sa problema yon. So dapat, bago mo pala in-issue yung ticket, inalam mo muna kung anong klaseng pasahero siya. So at least alam mo, you have the protection. Diba? So yun po. Ngayon, pag nalaman naman ng, nagkaroon ng investigasyon, nalaman naman meron siyang misdeclaration, let's say nagpa-issue lang siya ng one-way ticket, kung naman, wala kang kabog-abog tiniket mo at without seeing the proper documentation, maari kasing masangkot ka or, you know, maaring madamay ka sa investigasyon, di ba? So yun, para just to be safe, no, of course, you would want to ask your client kung ano talaga yung purpose niya. Bakit one-way ticket? Now, if you see, meron siyang proper documentation, let's say meron siyang working visa and he has a complete employment contract. So, syempre, yeah, that's valid. And of course, that will justify for your client to have a one-way ticket. Diba? Next. So without that, let's go with the first type of journey. So our first type of journey is what we call one-way. So this is the most simple, most easy to understand, and of course, pinaka-cheapest. In terms of mileage, no? Kasi syempre, it's only composed of outbound sector. So pag sinabi natin outbound sector, ito po yung from your origin point going to your outbound destination or your pinakamalayong destination mo. So that is outbound sector. So now I define one way as follows: a type of journey that emanates from the origin, having no return or no return trip or inbound sector. So basically, a one way is just composed of outbound sector. In my illustration, point A goes to point B. So that constitutes a one-way ticket or one-way trip. Okay. So the code for that is Oscar Whiskey. Oscar Whiskey. One way, Oscar Whiskey. That's the code. So if you see Oscar Whiskey in your CRS and GDS, in your tariff sheet, or let's say yung tariff na binigay na airline, yung rate sheet natin, so it means to say that is one way. So Oscar Whiskey is one way. Okay, so if you have your practicum, that is or internship sa travel agency, that is a good indicator that this rate is good for one way. Okay, so now to plot that in a visual map para mas maintindihan natin, So I prefer example. So Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, going to Bangkok, Thailand is a type of one-way. So that's a one-way journey. So meron ba siyang portion pabalik? Wala. So it's only composed of an outbound sector or outbound leg. So from Kuala Lumpur to Bangkok. So that's it. Now, if we check the GDS or the electronic tools that we use in travel agency or nga, so the system would appear like this. So we have, I would like to invite your attention to the one which is colored blue. One color blue followed by MH, which is stands for Malaysian Airlines, and then 784, which is in color blue, which is stands for the flight number 784. Yankee stands for the fare designator, that's the fare, so that's economy class because the code Yankee stands for economy, and then the date of departure, and then the 2 stands for the date of let's say that's the date for the week, so that's 2, that's Tuesday, no. Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, so it stands for the origin and destination. And of course, we have the HK2, which stands for those things. No, that's confirmation for 2 seats. And of course, you have the ETD and ETA. So these things. So basically sa system, makikita mo siya, isang segment lang siya. So it's one way. So wala na siyang intention bumalik pa ulit sa Kuala Lumpur. Okay. As simple as that. Next, so who are entitled for a one-way visa, one-way ticket? So sino pwedeng bumili or pwede mag-present ng one-way ticket sa airport? So ito po, number one, ang mga pwedeng bumili at pwede tayo mag-issue ng one-way ticket at pwedeng mag-present ng one-way ticket sa kanilang immigration is OFW, working visa. Provided that they have the working visa plus the contract. For Middle East country, they have to show the contract, no? So may contract po yan. Next, immigrant. So immigrant, these are normally mga Canadian, di ba? Papuntang Canada for immigration. Next is New Zealand, Australia. So immigrant. So they are required by law to have one-way ticket lang. Bakit one-way? Of course, para this signifies their intention to really stay to the place ng kanilang or to the place of their work planning to migrate, no? So or immigrate. So doon po yung kanilang katunayan, or that will be one of the basis of their intention. Okay. Next, deportee. Of course, deportee, di ba? Pag TNT ka, nahuli ka na. So it's about time for you to go, let go, di ba? So syempre, para to ensure na hindi ka na babalik talaga sa country nila, one-way document lang siya. One-way document meaning to say one-way passport lang siya, temporary passport ang issue sa'yo, pati ticket mo one-way din. So para talagang hindi ka na makakabalik sa lugar na yun at blacklisted ka na. So meaning to say, never ka na makakatungtong dun sa lugar na yun. Let's say, nahuli ka sa Japan, TNT. So, for life, hindi ka na pwedeng pumunta sa Japan. You're banned. Okay. Or kung meron ka pang gustong gawin doon at syempre mas mahirap na para sa yung mag-secure ng tourist visa kasi nga na-break mo nga yung trust and confidence nila. Next, student and study visa. So this is depende yan. Kung 6 months lang po yung program niyo, let's say you're taking a short course abroad, 6 months. So your round trip. Now, if you are for, let's say, 1 year ka or 2 years ka mag-aaral or 3 years, of course, you're entitled to have the one-way visa. One-way trip or one-way ticket. Kasi nga, syempre, sa loob ng isang taon na yon, hindi mo alam yung specific date kung kailan ka babalik. So, it's more ideally for you to buy a one-way ticket para in any time na gusto mo bumalik, you can buy at much more comfortable date na gusto mong umalis, no? Or you're not certain yung kasi minsan kasi mapapabili ka ng round trip ticket kaso na 6 months valid or 1 year valid siya, mahal naman. So yung mga ganun. To avoid that, yung ating student, especially if the student has a 2-year valid visa or the study program lasts for more than a year or a year, so yun, may option siya to avail one-way ticket or one-way document na yun nga, one-way journey. You can use that. Next, Seamans. For Seaman kasi iba-iba yung port of call, so it's much more ideal for them to purchase one-way document rather than round trip. Kasi yung kanilang point of entry would not necessarily mean that's the point of their exit, diba? At the same time, the port of entry is might be hindi naman talaga yun yung kanilang origin, diba? So yun yung kasi the ship is moving, yung barko kasi inaabang, let's say, ang mga barko kasi, di ba, mga port city siya. Ngayon, si Seaman, para maging crew na siya doon, aabangan niya sa isang port of call yun. So, ngayon si barko, dadaan doon sa port of call na yun, kung saan doon na si Seaman. So, sasakay lang siya doon. Ngayon, kailan siya magre-retire o kailan siya tapos na yung contract ni Seaman. So, bababa na naman siya sa port of call na kung saan dadaan or nasa ruta ng barko yung dadaanan ni barko. Okay, so doon ibababa si Seaman at doon ibubuk ng flight si Seaman. Hindi na doon sa original na binabaan niya kasi iba na yon. And of course, yung mga voyage po ng barko, it takes 1 year, 'di ba? Iba-ibang port of call yan. So 1 year, 2 months, 'di ba? So pag 3 months ka, syempre yung dinaanan mo, hindi mo na ulit mauulit kasi nga another route na naman siya, 'di ba? So mga ganung possibility. Now, to avoid that, avoid yung inconvenience to really return back to, and also the practicality din, syempre, ba't ka babalik dun sa port of call na pinanggalingan mo ulit, na kung saan malayo na yung barko, one-way ticket talaga yung i-issue natin for 6 months. Okay? Yan. Next, type 2. Type 2 is a round-trip ticket. So, round-trip ticket is a type of journey that is it's a type of journey in one place to another and back in the same route. So meaning to say, paano ka pumunta from point A to point B is the same route or the same manner that you're going to go back from point B to point A. So example, paano ka sumakay papunta Divisoria, ganun ka rin babalik papunta sa Imus. Let's say from Imus to Divisoria, sakay ka ng jeep. From Divisoria to Imus again, sakay ka ng ship. Same route kayo dinaanan. So basically, that is round trip, no? So to show that, and also round trip could be defined also, pansin nyo dito. Yan. So that's in the map. So I have the same example again. So I have Kuala Lumpur going to Bangkok. That's one way. Now to make it round trip, you have to have the return trip. Kaya po siya round trip kasi may return trip, no? So, round trip is, ayan, so meron siyang Bangkok to Kuala Lumpur, that's the round trip. So, mean to say, round trip is composed of outbound and inbound sector, which is equal. Pag sinabing equal, parehas. Parehas siya ng pagpunta mo, papuntang Bangkok at parehas din siya ng pabalik mo papuntang Kuala Lumpur. So it's the same equal amount of mileage or air distance. Okay? Yan. Sample sa CRS. Sample of round trip in CRS would be as follows. So you see now another return segment. So we have Malaysian Airlines flight number 797. So yan, nakita nyo na from Kuala Lumpur to Bangkok and then Bangkok to Kuala Lumpur. So round trip na siya. Okay? So commonly, kailan natin ini-issue ang ticket ng round trip at sino ba yung mga dapat naka-round trip? Okay. Another usapan din po sa round trip, it also includes connecting flight, no? So pag connecting flight, di porket connecting flight din na siya kasama sa round trip. So kasama rin po si connecting flight, si non-stop flight, saka si direct flight. So regardless kung anong types of flight ka or flight of service, no? So you could be connecting, direct, or non-stop as long as there is a return trip of equal route. Meaning to say, same route ang dinaanan, equal air mileage. No? So that will be round trip. In my example here, it's Bangkok to Frankfurt and Frankfurt to London Heathrow. Now, London Heathrow, Frankfurt again, and Frankfurt and Bangkok. Frankfurt is the connecting city because that's the hub of Lufthansa airline, the LH there. LH stands for Lufthansa Airlines. Okay, so that's the hub. Okay, salamat kay Amadeus. This is a copy of their Amadeus CRS platform. So if you're so in this kasi natin, we are using many CRS or GDS systems. So this one is an example of Amadeus system. So in totality they are operating in same logic, no? So ganun din yung display niya. So I think it's very universal. The only difference would be the command lang siya. Now, anyway, who are the entitled passenger to hold round-trip ticket? Or sino ba yung dapat natin normally ini-issue ng round-trip ticket? Okay, so for tourist visa, it is a must for them to have a round-trip ticket. Bakit? Kasi one of the immigration policy natin is that passenger should or must possess a holding or a return ticket. So return ticket or exit ticket from the country. Dalawa yan ha. Return ticket or exit ticket from the country or outside the country, no? So yan. So dapat meron siyang ticket pabalik at meron siyang ticket palabas ng country na kung saan magtutour siya. Okay. Now, another thing is this also must be could be issue for short stay visa category. Pag sinabi natin short stay visa category, yun nga, depend, case by case. Let's say, student visa ka pero 6 months ka lang. Syempre, round trip ka na, di ba? Hindi ka pwede mag one way nun. Another thing is yung mga business travelers natin, no? So that's a short stay visa. So normally, that's round trip, no? Round trip visa ini-issue. Or possible din na circle trip. Let's discuss it mamaya sa circle trip. Kasi perhaps siguro may other appointment pa sila besides this particular point or city, di ba? So yun. So these are the common passengers that we're going to issue round-trip ticket if there are tourists. Now, meron bang tourist visa na nag-i-issue tayo na one-way? Of course, wala. Kasi kung tourist ka, dapat ang round-trip ticket talaga ikaw. Bakit? Kasi it shows the intention, di ba? So kung tourist ka lang, mamamasyal ka, no need to work. So bakit ka mag-i-issue ng one-way ticket if diba, wala kang plano magtrabaho doon? So ibig sabihin, magtatagal ka pa sa lugar na yun, hindi mo alam kailan ka babalik eh, diba? So, kaya one-way ticket ang inisyo mo. Pag round trip kasi, ibig sabihin no, meron ka ng intention talaga umalis sa country na yun kasi nga may date ka na pabalik. So meron ka ng definite plan to move out. Pag TNT ka, parang ayaw mong isipin yun, diba? So normally, pag tourist visa tapos nakitaan one-way document, tatanungin ka na. So, where's your ticket returning back or coming or exiting this country? So, yun, hahanapan ka na kagad ng immigration officer. So, in that sense, dapat kailangan prepared ka rin. Okay? Next. Circle trip. So, for circle trip, this is type 3, circle trip. So, we have the round trip and circle trip. So, ano yung parang pares lang yun, di ba, sir? Hindi, actually hindi. It's not really the same. So if I define, okay, based on my own definition, I define a circle trip as a type of trip which involves 3 or more cities, whereas it takes a different route going back to the origin. Okay, bakit? Sa round trip kasi, pwede rin siyang 3 or more cities. Pero ang circle trip, hindi siya pwedeng 2 cities. Okay. Round trip kasi pwede siyang 2 cities. Example, Manila, Cebu, Manila, Hong Kong, Manila, Singapore. It's possible for a round trip ticket. Kasi nga, babalik ka lang naman. So Manila, Singapore, Singapore, Manila. That's a round trip ticket. Ngayon, hindi siya posible sa circle trip. Bakit? Kasi yung paano ka pumunta ng Manila, Singapore would be the same thing or same route how you get back from Singapore to Manila. So it defeats the purpose of having a circle trip. So in that sense, pag nakita mo 3 cities na siya or more, most probably there is a chance for this itinerary to become a circle trip kasi nga 3 or more na siya. So may possible variation na siya na kung saan pwedeng pabalik niya is not the same kung paano siya pumunta. Okay. Another indicator would be it is of a different route. Okay, iba na yung route ang dinaanan. So my analogy would be A going to B and B going to C. But of course, si C, hindi niya siya babalik ulit kay B para pumunta kay A. Kundi si C, dumiretso na siya kay A. Bakit? Kasi kung si A, B, tapos papunta sa C, si C pumunta ulit kay B, tapos si B pumunta kay A, that will be a round trip ticket. Okay. Now, since si C, dumiretso na siya sa A, how you get with C is not totally the same and how will you get with A, diba? So iba na yun eh. So mas mahaba ng A, B, C kaysa C, A points mo. So that's the logic here. Now to further elaborate that and to further explain to that matter, So, okay, I prepare a map. So, it's a map natin. No? So, my journey would emanate from Manila. Manila going to Hanoi. And then from Hanoi, Bangkok. And then from Bangkok to Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon. And then from Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City going to Kuala Lumpur. And Kuala Lumpur going to Brunei. And from Brunei, I go back again from Manila. So that is one sample of a circle trip. So what did you notice is that of this the outbound and the inbound sector is not the same. They don't have the same mileage. And how would you identify which point is the returning point or which is the point of inbound and outbound? Okay, later we will identify on that. Post muna natin. And to further elaborate yung kanilang comparative nature nila or their differences, round trip ticket is, of course, it operates on the same route throughout the journey. Okay, while circle trip is they have a different route throughout the journey because that is 3 or more city pairs or 3 or more cities. Therefore, may possible variation siya kasi nga different cities yung dinadaanan mo. Next, round trip ticket is characterized by having equal parts of outbound and inbound sector. While circle trip is not, OB is not equal to inbound sector and vice versa. Pwede siyang mas malaki, mas maliit. Okay. Next, fares are uploaded in GDS and rate sheets. So round trip one-ways are hindi na siya kailangan i-construct. Bakit? Kasi it's automatic. One-way and round-trip tickets are already uploaded in the GDS and rate sheets. Nasa system na po siya ng mga travel agent. While for circle trip, you have to construct it using the approved airline fare system and based on the system pricing ng GDS natin. So you have to construct it using logic. So ngayon, kung ako magpa-pricing, which one is difficult? Of course, circle trip is much more difficult to price kasi you have to really analyze and really check with the logic of the GDS. And also, you have to check with the airline if the fare would be valid for that particular flight combination. Okay. Next. So, analogy ulit. So, let's go back with the round trip. So, round trip is composed of equal parts of outbound and inbound sector as shown. So, violet line for outbound and yellow line for the inbound sector. Now, for the circle trip, as I did mention a while ago, it's not equal. So, which one is your outbound and which one is your inbound? For this scenario, it could be mas mahaba yung outbound niya. Pero possible din naman mas mahaba yung inbound. But for this scenario nga, the outbound is much more longer kasi outbound niya is represented by yellow line or orange line. So Manila, Hanoi, Bangkok, Ho Chi Minh City, Kuala Lumpur to Brunei, that will be their inbound or their outbound sector, outbound segment. While the inbound sector or the returning sector or the returning trip is from Brunei to Manila. So that is best represented by the blue line here. So blue line siya. Now in system, how would you see that the difference in sa system or in the GDS? Basically, there is no substantial difference. Para lang siyang round trip. Now the difference is obvious lang siya, makikita mo siya because the city, because yung kanyang pair na paano ka pumunta is not the same paano siya babalik. So that's the only difference. But otherwise, besides that, wala. Okay. Next, who is entitled for this type 3 circle trip tickets? So, sino pwede bumili? Again, it's for tourists kasi there are some itineraries that requires tourists to have a circle trip tickets. For example, if the tourist would have a ASEAN trip, so let's say maglilibot siya sa buong ASEAN country. So, of course, the tourist would not be going to purchase round trip ticket. Yung tinatawag natin sa online booking na multi-city destinations, no? So, yan, multi-city siya. So, for example, in my case, personally, I did Manila, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur to Kota Kinabalu. So, Kota Kinabalu going back to Manila. So, that is a sample of a circle trip. Hindi na ako bumalik ulit sa Singapore just to go back to Manila. So, that's one example. And of course, just like short stay visa if you're a business traveler. Perhaps your journey or your next journey will not be the same with your transit or connecting cities mo. So perhaps you can use um, other points of entries mo. So that constitutes a circle trip journey or circle trip um, itinerary. Now, another thing is most important is that you have to check your visa. So before you issue any circle trip ticket, make sure that the visa, especially if the passenger would be going back again to that same point, same terminal or same city, the visa should be multiple or dual entry. Kasi nga, dyan tayo nagkakaproblema. Akala nila pag inisyon ka ng visa, yun na. E paano kung dalawang beses ka lumabas-pasok? So that's the problem here. Kasi normally, visas are issued single entry. Single entry siya. So ibig sabihin, pag pumasok ka na, gamit mo na yung visa. So pag papasok ka again, that's the problem. So you have to make sure that your visa is a multiple visa and a dual entry visa. So before you issue any itinerary concerning a circle trip, concerning this, please make sure that your passenger is aware that she or he is holding a dual or multiple visa. No? Para wala tayong problema. Kasi baka later on, sabihin sa'yo ng kliyente mo, ba't di mo in-advise? O nga naman, ba't di mo in-advise? Yeah, you know their itinerary, di ba? Na babalik ulit sila sa Tokyo, tapos ikaw, tapos ano pa, sa inyo pa nagpa-visa sila, no? So nagpa-visa pa sa inyo ng Japan visa. Ang inirecommend mo, single visa lang or single entry. Patay tayo dyan, di ba? Kasi kung nag-issue ng ticket, alam mo 2 beses siyang papasok sa Tokyo, okay, 2 beses siyang papasok sa Japan, tapos in-issue mo single visa. So, patay tayo dyan. So, dapat, bago mo i-issue, i-check ang visa, if the visa is correct, if the visa is proper, so, sa kami issue ngayon ticket. Kasi syempre, ganun talaga yan eh. Parang you have to make sure. Okay. So, yun po. Next. Okay, next na tayo. Okay, next would be type 4, which is open jaw. So pag sinabing open jaw, it's a type of journey involving both air and surface segment. So ang definition dyan would be surface segment. Kasi yung one-way round trip, open jaw, these are all involving air segments. So meaning to say, aalis sila sa pamamagitan ng eroplano. So they're going to travel using air transportation. While open jaw segment involves air and surface segments. So ano ba yung surface segment? So surface segments refers to non-air transportation. Example would be your train ticket. Example would be your cruise ships. Example would be land transportation, so bus or mobile or whatsoever, tricycle or by walking. So these are literal example of transportation. Any transportation besides the common airline, so that could be a surface segment. Okay. Next. So my analogy here would be A going to B, but B, since B has a train ticket going to C, we cannot see that in our ticket. Kasi nga, syempre, air ticket is differently, yung air ticket natin, i-issue natin siya separate or differently from the train ticket. Kasi train ticket yun eh. Hindi naman natin siya pwedeng ikabit. Okay. So, but we could take the remark sa air ticket natin na passenger will be coming via train. So, may mga ganong proseso naman sa system. Anyway, since it's none of our business, kasi airline siya, it's none of the business of the airline to involve with that matter. So, ang kanyang itinerary, lalabas na bungi. So, there is an open jaw. So, para siya nakanganga. Just like this itinerary. A going to B and C, tapos nagulat na lang siya, wala, nag-appear na lang si passenger sa point C and then going back to A. So, basically, parang may nakabuka or nakanganga. So, kaya siya tinawag na open jaw. So, yun, no? So, example natin would be as follows. Let's say our passenger would be originating from Shanghai going to Jeju. From Jeju, kasi sa Jeju may ferry dyan eh. May ferry service ang Jeju going to Busan and vice versa. So sa Jeju, sumakay si passenger natin ng ferry going to Busan. And then nagulat na lang tayo, or if you are the airline, your passenger will appear now in Busan. So passenger will appear now in Busan, not Jeju. So your ticket would be Shanghai, Jeju, tapos walang Jeju Busan, but Busan to Fukuoka diretso. And then from Fukuoka, nag-train naman si passenger going to Osaka. So bullet train siya, Shinkansen. So Fukuoka, Shinkansen, Osaka. Of course, sa ticket, yung Shinkansen or train part, just like the ship, hindi siya mag-appear sa ticket kasi it's none of the concern of the airline or the airlines involved. So the itinerary would be Busan, Fukuoka, and then wala, blank, or next itinerary would be Osaka to Tokyo by plane. Yan siya. Because all red lines here are represented by air segments and all dotted violet lines are represented by surface segment or non-air segment siya. Okay? So pag chinek mo siya sa itinerary, I have this display using your GDS. Makikita mo meron siyang red mark na ARNK. So ibig sabihin ng ARNK sa system is arrival not known. So mean to say rank, no? So ibig sabihin, hindi natin alam pa paano nakarating si passenger kasi originally kanyang itinerary would be London Heathrow to Orly, Paris yan, no? ORY, Paris, no? Tapos nag-appear na lang siya all of the sudden sa Heathrow and then going to Paris again. Sa Charles de Gaulle International Airport, CDG. So yun siya. So hindi natin alam pa paano siya nakabalik from Paris to London Heathrow, but we know na nakabalik siya. And then uuwi ngayon siya sa Paris using air ticket or airplanes. Okay. Next. So who is entitled for type 4 open jaw itineraries or open jaw tickets, no? So this passenger might be a candidate for this open jaw. Normally there are cruisers kasi mas madalas ang cruisers. Bakit? Kasi mga cruise ships, 'di ba? When you dock in a particular area, not necessarily doon siya mag-exit. For example, common itinerary will be the Eastern Asian cruise itinerary natin, no? Sasakay ka sa Hong Kong, ang departure mo, let's say, sasakay sa Hong Kong, alis sa Hong Kong, ngayon, ang end mo or last trip mo would be Tokyo. So sa Tokyo ka na uwi from Manila. So that would be an open jaw. Hindi mo alam paano si passenger from Hong Kong nakapunta ng Tokyo. Pero definitely si passenger from Tokyo going back sa Manila. So itinerary would be Manila, Hong Kong, and then arrival not known, and then Tokyo, Manila. So ganun siya. It's an open jaw. Now, it's also useful for tourists with visas. No? So tourists with visa. One classic example would be Manila, Macau itineraries natin. No? So Manila, Hong Kong, and then surface or Iraq, because we don't know how the passenger went to Macau, but alleged siguro nagbus Macau to Hong Kong. Yun na. So that's an example of the tourist visa. Now again, just like the circle trip, visa should be multiple entry or dual entry siya. Kasi especially if you're going to repeat again your entry to a particular country, you make sure that of course that the visa should be valid. Kasi most visas are issued using single entry. Okay? So yun po siya. Now, the least used is the round the world fares or round the world. So bakit naman? Kasi number one, siya yung mahal. Number two, hindi lahat ng tao afford or have the capacity of time, luxury of time to travel the world in leisurely pace, no? And finally, round the world fares are, it's easy to distinguish them kasi they are touching all the IATA regions, no? IATA region 1, 2, and 3. So if you're not familiar with the IATA regions, meron tayong video for that. So you can watch the IATA geography or travel geography. Now, pag sinabi natin IATA regions, basically these are the continents. No? So we have Americas, Europe, Middle East and Africa, and Asia and Pacific. So if there is a certain points or cities na lahat ng mga areas na yun na-touch niya, that would be quantify or qualify that particular trip into a round the world itinerary or trip. So ngayon, who normally holds round the world tickets? So sino ba yung kadalasang gumagamit ng round the world tickets? Normally, these are tourists with multiple visas, okay? Multiple visas na siya definitely. Again, normally they are member or they are nagsusubscribe sila sa airline alliance. So kung sky team siya, yun ba, one sky, mga ganon. Mga ganon. So yan, normally ito. At of course, syempre mga VIP passenger na natin yan. Mga very important passenger natin. And of course, matik na rin yan, dapat ang visa niyan is of course multiple or at least dual entry. Okay. Now, what are the takeaway or the summary or gist of this lesson? So the takeaway would be promo fares are valid only for round trip and one way. Bakit? Kasi promo fares are computed based on a certain parameters, no? So syempre, na-publish na po sa rate sheet saka sa CRS ang round trip saka one way. So mas madali po mag-compute ng promo fares dyan. At normally, marketability wise then as mas marketable siya or mas madali siyang maibenta kasi nga sino ba kadalasan nagta-travel, 'di ba? Tourist. Kung hindi naman tourist is of course yung ating work. Okay, so ganun, no, kung hindi naman tourist na nagta-travel madalas, yung ating mga OFW sa Seaman. So of course, kung may promo fare, so sila kadalasan yung target market noon. So ang promo fare ay intended for them. Now, wag po tayo pupunta sa Expo kasi may mga tatanong kasi sa Expo yung mga constructed fairs or mga circle trip, open Joe. Posible makakita pa rin kayo kaso lang bihirang-bihira yan. Bakit? Kasi yung fare po ninyo, yung travel agent, they have to construct it, di ba? Gagawin pa nila, i-construct pa nila yan. Kung okay itong fare na to, kukombine ko sa ganitong fare, trial and error din yan. So, using the system. So, of course, walang matic na promo fare yan during Expo. So, kung constructed fare ka, is circle trip yung itinerary mo or open show, mas tingin ko wala kang makikita masyado sa Expo. So better check muna sa online and then kung wala ka nakita sa online, most probably wala kang makikita sa Expo. Okay. Next is of course, check your visa restriction with regards to connecting transit flights. So as you see, di ba, laki ng difference ng single entry sa dual entry at multiple entry. Particularly, it will have a bearing if you're going to buy circle trip or open jaw or round the world fares. No? So medyo meron siyang bearing na talaga kung ganyan klase itineraries mo or type of your journey. Okay? So ngayon, para may exercise tayo, and of course, I really appreciate that if you could answer that in our comment box. Sagutin po natin itong mga exercises para tignan natin kung may natutunan kayo. Okay? So, okay, trip 1. Anong klaseng type of journey to? What type of journey this one? Trip 1. Yan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Okay, trip 2. So, anong klase kayong type of journey ito? So, from Shanghai daw siya going to Tokyo. Okay. Shanghai, Osaka, Tokyo. So, anong klaseng trip or anong klaseng type of journey? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Next kaya. Okay. So, ano kayang ganon din? Ano kayang klaseng biyahe to or type of journey? So, from Manila daw siya, Hanoi, and then from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh, and then going back to Hanoi, and then going back from Hanoi to Manila. So, anong klaseng biyahe to? So, Manila, Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi, Manila. So, okay. Last but not the least, okay, ano pa yung klaseng biyahe ito? From Manila daw siya pumunta ng Hanoi. And from Hanoi going to Bangkok, and Bangkok to Ho Chi Minh, and then Malaysia, and then kanyang return would be Brunei to Manila. So, okay. So kung alam niyo po, pakisulat na lang po sa ating comment box para talagang malaman ko na may natutunan kayo dito sa ating lesson. Okay. Now, kung interesado pa kayo or mas nais nyo pong matuto ng marami, meron kasing course na ino-offer si Ayata, ayata.org training, no? So this is an online training. So hindi naman siya requirement ng course ko kasi syempre, that's beyond. So kung gusto niyo lang. So it's a 5-day straight ticketing, fare and ticketing basic. So natutunan natin dito is based on the lessons that I have learned from this training. So the training is, how much is the training? Medyo may kamahalan siya. So of course, if you can have spare time or spare money, that's $200. So, yun, medyo kung afford nyo lang. Kung hindi naman, that's okay. Wala tayong problema dyan. So, ito ay dagdag kaalaman lang. So, if you want a international diploma, you can avail the IATA course program. So, if not, pwede naman siguro, you can go back to my video, aralin nyo na lang. Kasi it's really based on the IATA policies din. So, syempre, wala nga lang tayong certificate. No? Yun. Next. So yun, if you really, I really appreciate if you would subscribe, like, and of course comment. And of course, your suggestions are really important kasi para I could learn how would you really understand the lessons kung okay siya. Or if you have questions that's really na hindi na-cover, that's really, really would be helpful for all of the learners here in our community. And of course, syempre, sana subscribe nyo po and also take time to like and hit that bell button. So thank you, maraming salamat po. Bye-bye. Ingat po tayong lahat.